Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
On every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, we are recapping our Extra Life charity gaming marathon with Slay the Spire, Content Warning, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Gourdlets, and so much more.
We played a lot of games this weekend.
A lot.
Yeah.
I just flew in from Extra Life, and man, are my arms tired.
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a bit.
So
Yep.
Drag that one out here.
OG Video Game Hangover. Yeah. We did the thing, DJ.
Hey, did you do anything fun this weekend? Anything going on?
It's the 11th annual Video Game Hangover Extra Life charity gaming marathon.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Was it? Did you have a good time?
It was.
Did you?
Yeah.
You survived?
Yeah. Mostly.
Mostly.
I love the cause. This is not about the cause. I think it's a great charity. I get excited to do this thing every year. I'm not the most comfortable streamer. I'm not comfortable with the technology. I'm not comfortable with sort of like being perceived by strangers on the internet. I think, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing or something, but who knows? Maybe it's a privacy thing. But
that's fair.
Yeah. But I never feel good streaming. So,
really?
And when things go wrong, I don't know what to do. When things don't work the way that they're supposed to work, there's a lot of like convoluted shit that has to happen to be able to make streaming work. And
Yes.
I don't want to start from a place of negative here, but I kind of miss offline Extra Life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been a while since we did an offline Extra Life.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing this long enough that we do have memories. I have memories of like quietly sitting on the couch with my dogs and playing video games with just me. And that was nice. So I think like next year, my 12th year, I'm going to do like a hybrid. I'm going to do a little streaming and a little offline because just 12 hours of being on the internet trying to sort of like figure out, am I doing it right? Are people entertained by this? Kind of makes it slightly less fun for me.
Oh, well, sorry to hear about that, but that's understandable.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird thing. It's just streaming in general is so weird thing people do now that didn't really exist 10 years ago. Like, how long has Twitch even been a thing? Like when we started this, or when we did our first Extra Life, I don't remember how big of a deal it was. It may have, like, Justin TV. Remember Justin TV? That was probably still around then.
Yep. Before they started cashing those Amazon checks.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so funny. It was like, and introducing Twitch TV. Like, oh, is that like Justin TV? Weird. Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, it's been, well, like I said, 11 years. So yeah, 2024 minus 11. How does that work? 2013.
Like that,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. The whole internet streaming thing of video games was probably in its infancy.
I think I had a Ustream account at one point.
That sounds familiar. I distinctly
did a little
recall
streaming
that as well.
on there.
Yeah. So, do you watch streaming? Like when you're not, you stream more than I do, and you seem much more comfortable and have like a whole like flow to it. Like in your downtime, do you just watch people play video games on the internet, or are you?
Oh yeah, I mean not all the time, not as much as I think a lot of people like watch streaming, but for me it's more like if there's some special event happening, like I'll watch whenever there's a Final Fantasy. The producer will give a video update every so often, so I'll watch those. But that's not really streaming in the sense that it's somebody playing a game. That's more like a press conference. But I have a handful of streamers who I follow. I definitely don't watch them as much anymore. It was like I watched a lot of streaming during the pandemic, during lockdown, because it felt like just a lot of people were streaming all the time. But no, it's not sense. Like it's not even an everyday thing. Yeah, I mean it was kind of fun. It was like kind of nostalgic at this point thinking about it because there are a lot of people streaming Animal Crossing. It was like kind of popular to do like morning Animal Crossing streams. And it was just like, all right, well, we're stuck at home. Might as well like get some kind of human contact via these Animal Crossing streams. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah. I play Animal Crossing while I watch somebody else play Animal Crossing. It's almost like we're playing Animal Crossing together.
Yeah. But rarely, and in fact, almost never do I just go over to Twitch and be like, what's on? I don't know if that's what people do. I feel like a lot of people tend to get their streams through people they're already following. So they just know when they go live.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I sometimes I watch when people I know stream. That's about it. I watch when you stream. I watched when Tim Walls was playing Crazy Taxi with...
oh, yeah. I saw that one. That was good.
What is her name?
With AOC.
AOC last
Nobody
week.
knows what her actual name is.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was a good time. But no, in general, I don't. When you were streaming Gourdlets the other day, I wrapped up my kind of first 12 hours and I was getting some dinner in. I downloaded the Twitch app for my smart TV and just put Gourdlets up on the big TV, and I could still chat with you on my phone that way. And I was like, this feels like the right way to sort of like consume this. But yeah, I don't know. Just being on the other side of it is fills me with a lot of anxiety, I think. So,
yeah. And I didn't get to, I mean, I'm like fairly comfortable with streaming at this point, but it didn't happen right away. It just like, sort of like eased into it after doing enough of these things. And so you brought up a good point though, or reminded me of an idea I had at least, which was, we always like fill out our schedule like, oh man, what are we going to do hour by hour for the whole 24-hour stretch? Or however many hours it is. But like throughout the day, like you were streaming stuff. We had another team member, Dudley Gearhead, who was doing some streams. And I felt like, oh, I sort of want to watch what other people are streaming, like especially people in my own team, let alone other Extra Life people.
Right.
I should have just like taken an hour where I watch other people streaming or like take a break and, you know, just not be on for the whole 24.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that would like occur to me if we stream more regularly. But maybe next year, maybe next time we'll be a little more coordinated.
There's always another Extra Life.
It's true.
Yeah, I have memories last year of doing a very similar thing where I sort of wrapped up my day and you were about to stream Trombone Champ. And I was like, this I have to see. So,
oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Same thing, put it up on the big TV in the living room, and Sarah and I watched you fumble your way through some trombone songs. That was a good time. So yeah, it's. I get the social side of it. I just I don't know. My thoughts have been clear on this, so I think next year I will definitely work a little harder on assembling an outline that feels a little less reliant on streaming technology. Because that part of it I find frustrating, and I just want to consume games, just want to play, just want to navigate casually through my day. I wanted to play some 3DS games this year, and I'm like, you can't. You got to be online. You got to stream them.
Yeah, well.
So, and I get that that's a self-imposed thing. That's something I created for myself, and I just want to put it out there now, 365 days in advance. I'm going to back away from that a little bit next year because it just freaks me out a little bit.
Unless you, between now and then, you just become a pro streamer.
Unless that, yes.
Yeah, that could always happen.
That would be interesting. And in which case I will apologize and I'll eat my words live on stream for everybody to see.
It seems like one of those things, I mean, even, like, I stream more than you do, but I still don't stream that much. But it really does feel like something, like, if I did with any more regularity, that I just understand better. And not just talking about, like, the technical issues that pop up, but just sort of, like, what makes a good stream, or, you know, just be a little more thoughtful about it.
I suspect that would come with watching other people stream, too, which I don't have a point of reference from. I never watch anybody stream other than you.
Oh.
So, I don't know what the good streamers are doing out there to, like, keep their audience engaged and to be entertaining. Yeah. So yeah, I suspect if I spent more time consuming streaming, I would have stronger opinions on what makes things fun or engaging or entertaining from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, it freaks me out a little bit. Like, if I did stream more frequently, and this is not even my goal with streaming, but if I, like, amassed a larger audience, and, like, I don't know how I would feel about that. Just thinking, like, because, like, the streamers I watch, sometimes they'll have, like, 50 or 100 people on the stream.
Mm.
And I'm just like, that's a lot of people. That's, like, more people than I know. I don't know. I mean, it's very disconnected because they're just little names in a chat room.
Yeah.
But it's weird to think about.
At some point, you run out of friends and family members, and it has to be strangers filling out the rest of the seats, right? Yeah.
It's like, oh, I only know 24 people, and there are 25 people in the chat.
Yeah. I guess my mom sent a group text to everybody in the family, so this must be everybody showing up. Yeah. But no, it's I get it. It's a cool tool, and I think there's probably a collection of people out there who, well, I know for a fact who have built their entire livelihoods around having an online presence in that way. But I'm not sure if it's for me.
So there's still a chance, though.
Well, I think the good news is, and let's focus on the positive, obviously, is that it did not hold back our fundraising aspirations for the year. We had yet another very, very good year of fundraising for Extra Life and for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals that we are supporting. We did quite a thing this year. We had a pretty humble goal. I think typically we would go into this with pretty humble goals, and we blew that goal out of the water.
Oh, yeah. I'll admit, I always set my goal very low. That's probably not, like, not great, or not, like, the optimal approach. Because, I mean, doing a charity thing, that's another thing I'm very uncomfortable with. So there's probably there's a bunch of ways to, like, optimize that.
To optimize kind of the psychology of it, yeah. Yeah,
the Extra Life group, or the organizers, whatever the name of the charity is, will keep sending emails about, like, tips for for game day, how to engage people and get donations. And I was like, yeah, these all sound like good ideas that I'm not really doing. But one of those things is, like, you should set the donation goal higher, so people have more incentive to, like, get you to the goal. But I always set mine very low. I don't know why. I guess it just feels more achievable.
Yeah. Well, I also remember our early years where we would set a goal of $300 and we'd make 150.
Right.
So we're definitely better at least I am, asking people for money this year and being more present and using social media tools and stuff like that to be able to kind of get the word out. And I've always been really surprised by how many, like, friends and online acquaintances kind of come out of the woodwork and chip in a couple bucks to help support the thing every year. And typically with a note, it was like, "Oh, I love that you do this every year. I look forward to you doing this every year." So nice. It's always really nice. It's super cool. I just think sort of we built some momentum with our once a year participation in this thing. I set a goal initially of $500, and I had beaten my goal before game day even rolled around. So the Extra Life Hershey, Pennsylvania outreach manager was like, "You should probably push that number up. You should reach for a little bit more." So
they know what's going on.
She's done this before. So I tweaked my goal going into game day to, again, sort of like try to inspire folks to maybe kick in a few more pesos for the cause.
Mm.
So it was good. Do you want to recap our numbers thus far for the year?
So I think the grand total, at least as of recording, we did 2,600. What? How do you say numbers? $2,658 and some odd cents.
Woo!
Because people, they love to just put a few pennies into the donation field. That takes more effort than just putting a whole dollar amount. But
what I think I sort of figured it out this year is that we are getting donations from people with other forms of currency. Some of our donors are not just using American bones. So I think there's some translation.
Okay. No, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, there's some currency conversion, but
conversion,
I know
that's the word.
That's definitely not everybody who puts pennies in. Some of those people are Americans paying in US dollars.
Yeah.
And they're just like, have a few cents.
Well, I mean, maybe it's the last of what they've got in their checking account. We should be happy to have it.
Oh no! Like you can only spare a quarter.
In which case, save the 31 cents and get yourself some ramen.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful or anything. I appreciate every donation, but I'm just like, I want to understand. But anyway, $2,600, $2,658 currently is our total, which is amazing.
And for
I've been very flippant, I feel like, throughout this whole segment, but
right.
every year I'm just like very humbled to see any donations come in at all, because I still just feel like we're two random people playing games online.
Oh, totally.
So why would you decide to like throw money at some random people online? But every year it continues to be incredible to see everybody's contributions.
Yeah. The other sort of incredible fact that I would love to share at this point is that for the 11 years that we've been doing this thing, we have raised a total, we being Team Video Game Hangover, and we've had other folks sort of like come in and out of that team over the course of the year. So it's not just DJ and I all along, but collectively everybody that supported Team VGH as a player and fundraiser over the years has made a total of $18,000, over $18,000 actually, for these charities across 11 years. So that is just an exceptional number. It's a huge average. It's staggering that's the case. And yeah, we continue to be blown away by sort of the generosity and enthusiasm that people have for our participation in this. So eternally grateful, despite sort of me starting this thing with a complaint and DJ being flippant about change. We are eternally touched and grateful for everyone coming out of the woodwork for this thing. I mean, we are not only sort of streamers and fundraisers, but we also contribute. We donate to people who play as well. We donate to other team members, and I donated to another friend who was playing in another state. So it is a charity I think we definitely believe in, and getting involved with the Extra Life Hershey team for the last couple of years has helped me sort of see the outcome for some of these donations. And they've been really good at sort of spelling out where the money goes and what it supports. And this year they were doing kind of dollar conversions. It was sort of like $20 is, a family meal for parents visiting their kids at the hospital who, don't have to leave to get dinner and stuff like that. And I'm like,
that's cool.
Yeah, I never really sort of thought about it that way. That this isn't buying like X-ray machines and things like that. This is actually like supporting like quality of life things for people who are dealing with the tough work of having a sick kid. So it's just really touching to sort of see like the math kind of tumble out that way. I feel privileged to get to participate in this thing. It's very nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah. Anyway, deep breath. So thank you to everybody who came out. And it was a lot of folks who came out. We got a ton of donations this year. Too many to sort of name everybody by name. We will reach out to everybody directly if you haven't already, DJ. I got my list. I've been trying absolutely to say thank you in person and make sure that you understand that this is going to a worthy cause.
Yeah.
What games did we spend our time with on Saturday?
Oh, a lot of games. This is another thing. I feel like maybe the first couple of years I did this, I almost scheduled a different game every hour. Because I was just like, 24 hours, I'm going to play so many different games.
And like 24 games.
Yeah, maybe not quite an hour, but like a lot. And it turns out that's a lot to just cram into, even if you have an entire day. It's a lot because you like switch games around. It means less time you get to spend with each game.
Yeah.
So after I started to realize that, I feel like I scheduled fewer games for longer periods of time, which worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But then for some reason this year, like the morning section just felt like I was lightning rounding it again. I was just like, why did I do this? So I played like 3 or 4 games before lunch Although I think it actually worked out because it turned out a few of those games after about an hour, I was like, okay, that's enough of this game. So I guess there is some benefit to having an out after an hour. Just like, okay, we got to see what Turok Dinosaur Hunter is about, and now we know, and now we can play something else.
Was that one of the 1 hour games? Yeah,
it was. And actually, so I kind of threw this on here as a lark, as my retro game for the year. I was just like, oh, Turok, the Turok Dinosaur Hunter is on the Switch N64 app, and I've never played it, and all I really knew of Turok is it was kind of like the butt of a lot of jokes when it came out, or at least that's how like my perception of it was. Because it was like this weird N64 game that was based on, I think it's based on a comic book, or like a comic book series. About this guy who like fights dinosaurs, I guess, and everybody made a bunch of jokes about it having a lot of fog because, like, I don't know why that's unique to Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Like, a lot of N64 games just had tons and tons of fog because that's how graphics looked back then.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought it would just be a sillier experience than it ended up being. I felt like it was, I mean, by modern standards, it's quite dated. It's a first-person shooter for the Nintendo 64, which is a tough thing to ask somebody to play in 2024.
Sure.
But I also feel like I do a pretty good job of sort of putting myself back into like an era-appropriate mindset when I play one of these retro games, and I feel like it was actually pretty good. I think I actually would have like enjoyed playing this at the time. I made a comment on the stream like, it's kind of a tough thing to ask people back then to pay. Well, these cartridges were like $70 or $80.
Yeah,
back then. So with N64 especially, you have to be very careful, or you have to be very discerning about what games you actually picked up for the thing. But I think if you ended up with Turok, it was like a pretty fun first-person shooter. Definitely dated. The controls are a little weird, but not a whole lot weirder than playing like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark on the N64 back then.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So after some rough spots with the tutorial asking me to jump on a bunch of different like platforms sticking out of a river and falling into the river many times, I felt like I kind of acclimated back to it. Like the muscle memory came back a little bit. And by the end, I was having a pretty good time with it. It's also funny, like, just for you, I kind of forgot that a lot of first-person shooters back then were much closer to Doom than something like Call of Duty or like something how you picture first-person shooters these days.
Yeah.
Because in Turok, you're dropped in this huge map. Very, like, not open world, but you do a lot of exploration. Like, you have to find keys to unlock different parts of the map and progress to the next area. And, it's much less guided than, like, modern games, especially. But, yeah, it was very doomy, which was surprising, but also kind of refreshing. Like, it's much more action-oriented.
I think that's where, like, my brain, and I've never played the Turok games, but I think my sort of, like, mental association with kind of time and place for when this was a thing is very much, like, Doom and Serious Sam and, like, just, like, kind of goofy, fast, not necessarily arena shooters, but, like, you versus a lot of enemies.
That's fair. It's definitely closer to an arena shooter than sort of the cinematic approach that you get these days.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it's clearly like, given the time that they came out, like a very like solitary offline experience. These are not multiplayer online games, obviously. So I don't know if developers are making a lot of like first person shooters that are not that experience, that are meant to be sort of like single player campaign only. I think a lot of the aspiration for developing a first-person shooter now is to be kind of, maybe it'll be the next Call of Duty. Yeah. So I'm just racking my brain trying to think of like my understanding of the current state of FPSs, and I can't think of a single one that is single player only.
I think I saw one. There was something that popped up in my Steam queue recently that was like a single player extraction shooter. And I was like, oh, I would maybe play that because I haven't played an extraction shooter. And one of my hangups is like, I don't want to play against other people online because it sounds obnoxious. But I thought that, it sounded interesting. It's actually sort of on my short list of stuff to check out.
What is it? What is it? Detour for a second here. What is an extraction shooter?
It's basically, it's probably most similar to, what was the thing in the Division, the Dark Zone, where you go in and try and get loot and then get out.
And then get on the helicopter.
Yeah, and it's always sort of like a balancing act of like, do we take in a lot of supplies and bring out less loot? Or at least this is how I understand it. But it's always sort of a gamble, like, how much should we risk for the chance of bringing in more loot? Because like if you get killed, then you don't bring anything back, right?
Right.
That's my general understanding of it.
Interesting. I don't think I knew that was its own genre, but...
Oh, yeah. That's the new Marathon, I think, is supposed to be an extraction shooter, which is weird because that's nothing at all like the original Marathon, which I played like 2 weeks ago. so weird.
I remember I was there for that.
Weird aliens. But anyway, Turok.
Sorry, that was a weird
pleasant surprise. I felt like, I don't know, maybe I was just too caught up in the fact that it had a lot of fog and was just like sort of riffing on it with all these other people.
How's that Nintendo Online N64 app treating you? You a fan of that?
It's surprisingly good. Yeah, like you can do save states, which I wasn't really expecting. So that's fun. I've got my Switch N64 controller, which I don't know if I recommend playing some of these games with just a standard controller, because that controller is so weird. And a lot of these games seem like designed for you to have this weird controller.
Oh, sure.
But they're definitely playable. I think it's a pretty good experience overall. I think the roughest time I've had with it was I tried to play Perfect Dark when it came out a few months ago. And going back to it after having played the like Xbox 360 sort of like remastered, up-resed version with like modern fonts and everything is difficult because like everything is like the 3D sections are kind of like up-res, but then all the fonts and like the menus are just those original N64 textures, and it's pretty difficult to look at. But like the rest of the games are fine. Like Turok was pretty good. I think I played some Mario 64. Mario 64 is always pretty good. Yeah, it's comparable to all the other Switch Online apps. Yeah, the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo ones.
Yeah, I've only sort of dipped into that a few times, just as kind of games have come out that, pique my interest, and it does seem like kind of a cool and efficient and super quick and easy way to access old games. You're at the mercy of Nintendo, obviously, sort of curating that list, but there was not an easy place to play the original Paper Mario. There still is not. So having access to it in the app, and it took a second to stream and download and play. And like you said, you could kind of rewind or have save states anywhere, and yada yada was super exciting. The hoops I would have to jump through to run it on any other device would have been significant, and honestly, I wouldn't do them anyway. So just to be able to call it up on demand on the Switch app was nice and easy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great, actually. Especially like if you're playing one of those games that does work well with a typical controller layout, then that's amazing. Because then it's on the Switch, you can just play it wherever.
Yeah.
I feel like one of my hangups with, I don't know, maybe having an N64 emulator on my computer or something would be like, how do I get the controller to work with it? But,
sure.
Now
that you have to be in front of your computer.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's great having the sort of like replica controller because it feels very, it's just the actual controller, so it works exactly as it's supposed to.
Nice.
And I didn't have a lot of N64 games back then because, like I was saying, they cost almost $100 each.
Right.
So it's amazing to get all of them just in the app if you're paying for the Switch Online thing anyway.
Yeah, I think I only had 2 or 3 N64 games ever in the entire time that I had an N64. So it was not a massive collection.
Yeah, I had 4. And
Oh,
then
wow.
when I got to college, I bought a copy of Mario 64. So 5 grand total. Not an incredibly huge library for that system.
Quality over quantity, though.
It really was. I mean, you can't argue with that. It was like huge games.
We both, I think, started our day, or at least early in the day, with the Slay the Spire daily climb, which is their version of the daily challenge. So updates every 24 hours with a new rule set for a playthrough. Typically, these are pretty brief affairs for me. I think I had given myself an hour and a half to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 3+ hours of gameplay. It took me a long time to get through the daily. I was like rearranging things on my schedule, and I had some streaming technical issues and stuff first thing in the morning anyways. So I had to move stuff around for that too. But then once I sort of like started really going hard on Slay the Spire, it became really clear to me, like, this is not going to be a quick one and done, in and out kind of thing. This was not a turn and burn. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, I did like a full ascension. I got all the way up to the final boss, very top of the tower, and died.
You got farther than I did. I only made it to the second boss.
It was a really good run. I love the weird little machinery of the daily challenge. For those who haven't played Slay the Spire, you get there's 4 different characters in there. They all have their own kind of custom deck that goes with them, and they're all kind of like catered to different kind of play styles. You can build decks as you go that cater to, like, I want to focus on defense and poisoning. I want to focus on melee and things like that. Or there's a character who has like electrical powers, and you can really kind of steer their build into that over the course of a game. And in the course of normally playing the game, you can't sort of like take powers and abilities and cards from one character's deck to use elsewhere. But in the daily challenge, you can. So if the sort of like the framework of that day's challenge includes that. So it was really kind of fun to kind of remix the characters as we were playing and have access to cards you wouldn't normally get playing with, the silent. So yeah, it was really, really cool. And then the whole artifact thing was nuts. You get these artifacts that sort of like alter some rule in the game. For example, typically you lose your shields at the end of a round of combat, and you have to start fresh, building your shield up again for the next round. But you can get an artifact that makes that not the case. You can you have perpetual shields. As long as you don't take enough damage to reduce it to 0, that number will just carry over to the next. It completely changes.
That was what you got for the daily?
That was one of the artifacts that I encountered in the daily, ultimately, yeah.
You found an artifact. Okay, wait a minute, though. There was only one path in the daily, so we had to have gone through the same route. Oh, maybe that was on the 3rd floor. I didn't make it to the 3rd floor.
I don't remember where that was. It was definitely later in the game.
I'm just like... I am a little uncertain about how the daily even works at this point. Because like, the first daily was fine. I thought it was actually a fun run with all the sort of like mutators or whatever they had on there. But then the one we did later on, first of all, it was just like not a good run. The sort of central conceit was that you got 5 copies of a specific card in your deck. And the card we got was just like not something that was useful to have 5 copies of.
It was terrible.
In fact, it was really bad. Yeah. So it's like, didn't get very far.
Yeah. And every decision was painstaking too, because like everything was sort of like, well, it'd be nice if I didn't have 5 copies of this shitty card in my deck.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of it was just sort of like trying to figure out how to mitigate having 5 copies of that card. But then like at some point, I think you got up to take a break or something. I was like, I'm going to load this up on my phone because I have a copy of Slay the Spire on there, and I'm going to have a do-over, essentially, because this run is not going well. I'm going to make different decisions and see if I can get a better result. And so when I started it up, I got 5 copies of a different card.
Yeah. I did it on the Switch. You were running, I think, initially on the PC. I ran it on the Switch too. And on the Switch, it was 5 copies of a different card as well. So,
yeah. But I think we got the same different cards. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Or if the Switch and Android, or Switch and iOS and PC versions just have slightly different versions of the same daily.
Or it's just a 50-50 chance you get either A or B. You get the shitty card or the good card.
Yeah, but I think that shouldn't even be a possibility, because the whole point of the daily, when you start a regular game, everything is randomized. The reason to have the daily to begin with is just to get everybody on the same page. So
we all start from the same place, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if people get different cards. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I saw some posts saying that there might be some differences between the versions, but I thought it was very weird that they were 90% the same, except for this one critical difference.
Yeah. There were things that I were encountering in the climb for the second playthrough that were random encounters that were happening in exactly the same order as when you and I played too. So they're on the map, for people who don't know Slay the Spire, there's little question marks, and it's meant to be sort of a random thing. It could be something really good or super helpful. It's usually a choice you have to make. You can spend a little gold and get some nice perk, or you can give up a little of your hit points and get some crazy good perk, or you can kind of just do nothing. Or you get cursed sometimes, which is a whole other thing to deal with. But the question mark rooms on the path that I was on were the exact same ones you and I encountered in the playthrough previously. So
that's how it should work. At least that's how I expect it to work.
We should all be on the same path with this, instead of starting from the same place. But clearly we were not. I mean, if the commitment is you get 5 copies of a random card, then sure, there's a randomness to it. But if you get 5 copies of just 2 cards, that feels slightly less random. And then one of those is super advantageous and the other one is kind of punishing. That doesn't really seem fair either.
Yeah, I think it just defeats the whole point of the thing, because you want everybody to be like, so how did you deal with those 5 terrible cards? And I don't know what you're talking about. My 5 cards were incredible.
I fight him at 5 amazing cards. Exactly. And the ones for the second playthrough were amazing. They were really, really good, and it completely changed the shape of the thing.
Oh, yeah, it was way better. I finished the whole daily, I think. As opposed to when we did it the first time. I don't know if we got through the first boss, but it was very bad.
Yeah. Yeah, when we played on the second devices, you definitely got a lot further than I did. So I think you even had a better run than me for that second one. Such is the push-pull of Slay the Spire. Was that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the fun of it. I mean, that's how it should work, is we had the same cards. I managed to get a little farther just because, whatever. We made different decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we had the same, equal footing at the start.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from that second playthrough was I had gotten too far and had not spent enough of my resources getting defense cards. So as the bosses and the enemies were getting tougher and tougher, I was less equipped to defend myself. I was really powerful with attacks, but when you have 68 hit points versus a boss that has 500 hit points. You need to defend yourself a little bit. Just being able to attack is not going to get you there. So
I don't know, if you kill them in 2 turns every encounter, then don't really need a lot of defense.
Yeah, I was certainly not doing that kind of damage, but I definitely realized, I've made some slight miscalculation on where I spent my resources and don't have enough cards to be able to put up shields for all the crazy attacks that are coming my way.
I don't even remember what I was doing or what combination of things enabled this, but it was one of the best Slay the Spire runs I've ever had. I was just I can't believe I'm doing this well, especially since I've seen the alternate universe version of this where I just had those 5 useless cards weighing me down. This is just night and day difference.
Yep. So yeah. I mean, in short, too long, didn't read. I love Slay the Spire. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Even when
still pretty good.
It's feels like this is a shit run with shit cards, and I feel like this is going to be terrible. Even the terrible is fun, and you learn a little something about how to approach it the next time too. So yeah, it's just a great game. If you've not played Slay the Spire, I don't know how many more times DJ and I have to implore you to try. It is on just about every device you could possibly imagine at this point. So Check it out. Give it a little time. You'll probably love it too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I definitely got that itch again after having not played it for a year. I'm like, what else can I do? What haven't I done yet? What have I not unlocked? I was going through the list in the game. You have your like lexicon where you can see like all the artifacts you've unlocked and every card you've ever unlocked over the course of the game. And at the end of the list, there's little grayed out icons for the ones you've not seen yet. And I'm like, oh, there's like 6 artifacts I've never gotten. There's like 20 cards I've never gotten in every playthrough I've ever done. And it's a lot of playthroughs. So my mission in life now is to get all of those.
Yeah. Gotta do it.
Yep. Anyways, so yeah, Slay the Spire. It's so good.
Still pretty good. Yeah.
What else, TJ? Any other highlights for you? Anything exciting you want to share?
Yeah, man, I play a lot of stuff. I played this game called Gourdlets.
Yeah,
which
I watched that.
Yeah. I forget if we talked about that before or offline, but I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was like not a great thing to show on the stream, just because it's basically sort of like the decoration component of Animal Crossing. Like you get a whole island to yourself, and you can like landscape it. You can put down structures and decorations and everything, which include houses and other buildings, which you can then enter and put in a bunch of furniture and decorate the interiors. And while this is happening, you can populate it with these little Gourdlet characters, which are like sentient little vegetable things, kind of. They're like kind of Pikmin, kind of like Among Us crewmates. They're just these weird little like amorphic things that walk around on the island and live there. And the game is very clear about they just like don't have strong opinions or a lot of like ambition or something. So they're just like, yeah, they'll pretty much do whatever you want. And they're very agreeable to everything. So that's sort of the vibe of the whole game. It's very friction free. There's no like currency or resources you have to manage. They just let you build as much as you want. The only sort of restriction is that there are like some items you have to unlock. And you do that just by building other stuff on the island. So it's like eventually you'll just have access to everything. Which was very fun because I like the decoration, the island decoration stuff in Animal Crossing.
Mm.
But just having, like, first of all, just having access to the entire island and all the decorations immediately is very overwhelming. Because I was like, okay, I feel like I should be just decorating this whole island, but I don't really have like a plan. So it's hard for me anyway to just like put down a house and just decorate an entire house, sort of ad hoc. I was like, I don't know what the deal with this house is. I don't know what, like, if there are other houses around it. I don't know if it's part of like a village or like what else should be on the island. It's very open-ended. It's sort of like getting dropped into a new Minecraft world and just being like, oh, what's the plan? Don't really know. So I don't know if it was like a great thing to have on the stream, just me floundering around and having decision paralysis. But one thing I really liked about it is that it had this Twitch integration where like anybody in the chat can sort of just put themselves into the game. Like they inhabit a Gourdlet, or like they don't really do anything. It just puts their name, like it names one of the Gourdlets after them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so once people started doing that, I would sort of look at them and go, oh, okay, so I'm going to put this guy in a house and we will figure out what their sort of like personality is or what their story is in this game. Because whenever you build a house, it comes sort of like pre-populated with a bunch of like cardboard kind of moving boxes. And it's very exciting because you get to open up all those boxes. And it seemed like each set of boxes, like the set of boxes you get for each house, sort of had a theme going. Like one house had like a bunch of books and bookcases in it. So I thought, okay, this is kind of like a library house. And another one ended up being like a jazz bar or something. A lot of them ended up having lots and lots of wine bottles, and like every house had like 3 or 4 wine bottles, which was weird. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but I was like, kind of using that plus whatever I knew about whatever people had put themselves into the game to come up with sort of like their backstory. Like, I think you had the library house. Like, you were one of the little Gourdlets walking around.
Yes.
And so I set up like a library, and just because I know you have a kind of a spooky disposition, I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna put a bunch of creepy furniture in the yard. So you got a bunch of tombstones and a jack-o'-lantern. Yeah. So that was fun. I was like kind of making up sort of like the story behind your spooky library.
Yeah.
But so I mean, like, I was having a really good time with it, but it was also just the sort of game where I could see myself just really getting into so much detail, decorating everything and filling out every last tile on the island. I was like, I don't know if people want to watch me do that for 3 hours, because like I could just be here all day if I really felt like it.
Yeah. I had the benefit of a time jump while you were playing, is that you were just starting to unpack boxes and getting a feel for some of the controls and the layout. And we had just figured out the Twitch integration too, where you can name characters after people in the chat. And I had to step away to finish making dinner. And I came back 15, 20 minutes later, and like it was a whole different island. Like,
oh yeah, and then like your house was done.
My house was done and themed out, and it had my name above it, and there was a custom soundtrack when you went inside, and I was like, what did DJ do in the last 20 minutes? So it's definitely like the Animal Crossing decor thing, but like fast forward. You were doing the whole island in the time rather than just sort of like, spending hours working on somebody's house. So yeah, it was pretty impressive what you were able to achieve, and still realizing obviously that you had not unlocked everything in it. So yeah, I didn't see the whole construction process, but having the little time jump was sort of very eye-opening when I came back. I was like, whoa, is this the same island? Is that a grave in my yard?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was buried
one of
there.
Several. That's a good question. So yeah, I think it was pretty fun. If you enjoy that component of Animal Crossing, it's super easy to get into. Like I said, it's very, very open, and there's not a lot of limitations as to what you can do. So it's just very, very light, sort of like decorating game.
Yeah,
and definitely, man, when I think back about just how clunky the interface for all of this was in Animal Crossing, it was just the worst. So this is like, finally a game that's actually designed to make this a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
And one of the other interesting things about it is that you can have it run, I think, like in this weird, really narrow and wide window, or short and wide window. Those are two different things. At the bottom of your computer screen. And I think the idea is like you can then just go do whatever you're doing on the computer while your little Gourdlets island continues to exist at the bottom of your screen. Almost like just a screensaver for just a small section of the screen. But that's kind of a fun idea, just to have your island always present while I don't know what else you're doing. I don't know if you're like running this on your work computer or something. Just have your Gourdlets island going. But kind of interesting, like turns into a fun little like toy or background decoration.
Yeah. I think you had it set up when you were done, you had stepped away and were, doing whatever people do between games.
And I think I went and had lunch and just left it.
Yeah, it was just sort of running on idle on your Twitch stream, and it was playing like kind of cute, kind of twinkly chiptunes music, and I could see the day-night cycle go, and it got a little darker, and everybody turned on all their little house lights and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, this is really cute. It's kind of just a fun little idle screen with nice music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be, imagine if you had built out the entire island and there was just a whole like Gourdlets civilization playing out on your screen. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially if all the Gourdlets are named after people you know.
Yeah, even better.
It's very Tomodachi Life in that respect. Did you ever play Tomodachi Life?
I think I played the demo. It was all the Miiverse stuff, right? All your Miis would be.
Yeah. So just like more avatars of people you supposedly know, but also very open-ended. And at the beginning, it's not really clear what the game is, but it was just like, oh, okay, so these weird avatars named after my friends are just gonna get up to mischief, essentially. And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But that's just like part of the whole thing. And that's sort of how Gourdlets felt to me. So pretty cool.
Yeah. I jumped into a couple of kind of ongoing gaming projects during my stream time too. I played a lot more Zelda. I always want to call it something else. Echoes of Wisdom.
No, that's it, right?
That's what it's called. Yeah. For some reason I always have the Wisdom of Echoes in my head.
Wisdom of Echoes. That's the sequel.
It's a different thing. I had timed it just right so that I could play much of a dungeon in the time that I was streaming. So I'm later in the game. I'm 20 something hours in at this point. So it was definitely one of the bigger, more expansive, multi-floor, lots of puzzles going on, big enemy encounters, like 3 little mini bosses before the big boss. So it was fun. I think it was sort of my best production of the day because it was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff happening in Zelda, and I had to do a lot of puzzle solving and things like that. So it was cool. It seemed like the right time to play a big dungeon. So it was fun. That was a really good time. That continues to be a really good game that I like a lot. I can't seem to get enough of it. So that's cool. And then I played Astro Bot later in the afternoon. I had kind of cooled on this when Zelda came out. So I had stopped making progress. But the last time I had played, I had just unlocked the God of War themed planet in the game. So I played that on the stream, which was super fun. And that was it was a lot of fun. Your little Astro Bot gets Kratos's axe in the beginning. And you can throw it, and it will freeze enemies and turn them into ice cubes. So a lot of the conceit of the level was you throwing the axe to turn enemies into ice cubes so that you could then climb on them to jump to other places and use them essentially as platforms. It was cool. It really kind of switched up the mechanic for Astro Bot, because that's not a function he typically has. There were a ton of like little buried references to God of War in there and little bots you could unlock that were all kind of ancillary God of War characters. If you're super invested, I didn't recognize many of them, and I've played all of those games. Here's a Greek goddess that you probably should know. So it was fun. It was a good time. And again, I think, a lot of little buried treasures and hidden paths and stuff like that. And I did pretty well. I got all of the collectible characters. I found 2 or 3 of the little shortcuts and other collectibles and stuff like that. I think I was really only missing one thing. It was like 92% completion for the level. So, and it felt really good. That is also a really good game, and one that, man, there's just dozens more hours, I think, of gameplay in there. And they just released a ton of new content with like speedrun challenges and stuff like that they added, and a bunch of new things to find in the game through DLC.
Does that include more like cameo characters?
That part I don't know, actually. That would make sense. I think that's sort of the bread and butter for Astro Bot at this point, is pushing those nostalgia buttons for people. But I'm not sure. I know that they had some speedrun challenges and some new levels. So I suspect buried within there are some other Sony characters that didn't make the first cut. But yeah, that's fun. I still have not gotten to the Uncharted theme level in that yet. So I know it's crazy. I don't know how far into Astro Bot they bury the Nathan Drake level, where he gets like a paintball gun or something like that to explore with. Excited to give that a shot and get there.
I'm surprised it's so buried in there. Like, what do they open with?
Parappa the Rapper.
Last of Us.
Oddly, no. One of the first levels was Parappa the Rapper. I'm like, do people love this? Is this a beloved Sony property? So much so that it's level 1.
It's a little old at this point.
Yeah. It was fun, though. It was a good... I think sort of the gift of Astro Bot is finding a way to make those themes the theme of the level.
That part sounds really appealing. I was actually just hearing some people saying that like a lot of the sort of like game-inspired levels in Astro Bot are more fun than like actually playing the games they're based off of. Which is like, I don't know what that says.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
testament to how fun Astro Bot is, at least.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And there's a ton of stuff to draw from. Like there's, a lot of like Nintendo, sorry, Sony properties. I think back to, uh, oh man, what was it called? It was a Switch game and you would tilt the level essentially using the left and right triggers.
Wait, it was a Switch game?
It was a Switch game. They were little blobs with like a little feather sticking out of their head.
What?
Sorry, not a Switch
Pikmin.
game, a Vita game.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a very different question.
That's very different.
I don't know what game it is.
Never mind.
Blobs with feathers.
But there was that in Patapon, and Siphon Filter, and a bunch of like old Sony properties that you could still like drop into an Astro Bot greatest hits. So I think future iterations of this thing probably should be more. Yeah.
Till they run out of characters.
Yeah, we've mined everything from the Sony catalog. Now I have to figure out what that game is.
It's Pikmin.
It's not Pikmin.
It's Sony Pikmin.
Why are you like this?
I don't know. That's the game you described.
It's not Tearaway. That was a different thing. Patapon. Let's try Patapon because I think it was the same
blob game on the Vita.
Um,
Oh, I know what it was.
What was it?
Gran Turismo.
Stop, DJ. But anyways, while I Google what this was, what else did you play? What was your spooky game?
I play this game called Jisatsu from Chilla's Art, which is a game developing duo in Japan, I think. They do all these spooky games that I played over the last few years. I have to say, I didn't really care for this one. Which is disappointing because I really enjoyed all the other ones that I played for the most part. But the premise in this is like you're working for some kind of film studio, and as your latest assignment, you are sent off to make this sort of like found footage style video because those are very trendy at the time. And so they send you to this spooky old house, which is just the grossest sort of old abandoned house, and it's like in the middle of the night, and clearly nobody has lived here for a long time, and it's just a very terrifying environment. But I just felt like the premise was very uninteresting. Like you end up exploring this house and finding like creepy videotapes, which give you sort of a glimpse into the family that lived there, which is just very spooky because I don't know what's going on with that family. But all the other games from this developer have been just sort of, I don't know, they felt like there was more ramp up to the spooky stuff. Like I played one where you worked in a convenience store and you start off the game by just sort of like doing tasks on your shift working at the convenience store. There's another one where you're a delivery person where you would drop off packages around this big apartment, and like just gradually weird and unsettling things would happen. But in this one, you're just immediately dropped off at this weird house, and it's just, you immediately are like, oh, I don't want to be here because this looks very unpleasant. It's like if you just booted up Silent Hill and you were immediately, like from the first screen, you're just in, the hell version of Silent Hill. And you're just like, oh, well, here we go. There's no escalation at all, which kind of threw me off with this one.
Yeah, which is kind of half the fun of a horror movie or a horror game, is just sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And things to go sideways.
I mean, yeah, you're expecting weird stuff to happen, but it's just it felt so contrived that it's like, oh yeah, well, they just sent me to a haunted house immediately, so let's see what this is about. So a little disappointing in that respect. Still very spooky and just tense because, yeah, it's just this gross old house that that you don't want to be in. But the whole time I was just like, why am I here? Why don't I just leave? And the answer is because, it's because your boss told you to come here, which I felt was just so uninteresting. So, don't know. I have another one of their games on my list. Maybe I will check it out as man, spooky season's kind of over, but I do have a few more games I want to get through, so might end up checking out some more of their stuff.
Yeah.
But that was probably the only thing that was like really disappointing that I played.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because like I said, I like a lot of their other stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty consistent, right?
Yeah. I guess like still very effective as a horror game if you just want to be creeped out for an hour or so. But man, I felt like their other stuff, especially the one I played last year, was about like a Twitch streamer. Weirdly enough, I thought it was like it kind of like went beyond just being a horror game. It was like actually a really sort of interesting and creative experience. It was like just a good game in general, just on top of being a spooky horror game. So I feel like they really raised the bar with that one, and maybe this one just didn't measure up to it. So I don't know. I do like that they are like they're so prolific. They made so many of these things that it's not as big of a deal when one comes out and it's like, oh, didn't like that one as much. I guess I'll just check out one of the like 20 other games that they've made. So,
and they're all pretty short form, right? They're not like huge, like hundreds of hours games.
Yeah, they're all like, I don't think any of them have been longer than a couple hours.
Nice. That's cool.
So, yeah, that's like probably the ideal length for a horror game for me. So, yeah, not all of them are going to hit. That's fine. Just unfortunately, I picked this one this time, and it wasn't my favorite. Still very spooky, though.
Yeah.
A lot of weird headless dolls.
I found the game I was looking for before. Loco Roco.
What? Did they have like feathers on their heads?
They had like a little bloom out of their head.
Oh, they were like little sprouts or something, right?
Yeah.
They're all little blobs. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And on the PSP
sense.
and on the Vita, you would use the shoulder buttons to like tilt the level left and right, and you like basically were trying to pool Loco Rocos into like one mega blob. And that was always fun. There was definitely like a Pikmin vibe to it. But the music was great, and they were always man, they probably made 3 or 4 of those games across those 2 devices, and they were always a lot of fun. So that feels like something that would be just right for resurrecting in a very cool level somewhere in Astro Bot. Maybe it's there, who knows? Maybe it's a thing that's already in the game, and I'm
kind of surprised that they went with Patapon over Loco Roco.
Oh, I don't know the Patapon's in there, but that was just the first thing I thought of. That was like a cool old kind of deep cut Sony game that could get resurrected somewhere in.
Those are both games where I was like, I really like the sort of art and the character, and then I didn't actually enjoy playing either of them.
Oh no.
I just felt like they were trying so hard to make them a thing, though. Like they just kept making sequels, and I was like, I don't know about this whole Patapon thing.
Yeah, I really loved the Loco Roco games. The Patapon ones were much harder. They were more of a rhythm game, and I was not great at them. So I think I played the first one, but didn't go forward with the series. But I think same developers. I think they're connected to Team Asobi. The folks that make the Astro Bot games now, I think they used to be some other studio that made Patapon and Loco Roco. Yeah. So I think there is some overlap there. That was maybe a while ago.
Some stragglers from Japan Studio or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Japan Studio. Yeah, is now part of that is now Team Asobi, I think.
I thought they were in France or somewhere.
Oh.
I don't know.
Maybe I got
ended up in France. Yeah. Who knows?
Exactly.
It's not impossible.
No. Plane tickets are a thing. My kind of last but not least, as we're sort of winding up here, is I want to recommend a mobile game because I had a period earlier in the day where I was having some tech issues and was feeling a little frustrated. So I just figured I would play something on my phone. And I discovered a new game called Subpar Pool. I've heard of this, I think. This is the same folks who made Hold Down, which is a game I love and have played multiple times across many different devices. This was their new game that I never got around to playing. And it's it does for pool or billiards what Hold Down did for Arkanoid for brick breaker games, essentially, and puts kind of a cool sheen over it with cute and fuzzy characters and really good soundtrack, and kind of distills it down into its essence. So essentially, you have a pool table and 3 balls you have to sort of pocket, and you're basically lining up really fun trick shots by doing bounces, and there's portals and other obstacles that are in the way. You'll get like a little menu of challenges. You have to get no scratches. You have to do it like 5 perfect games in a row, and it unlocks this next challenge. Or they'll put great big giant heavy balls on the table, and you have to hit them in the pockets first without getting into the other little balls, and et cetera, et cetera. So it just keeps sort of like distilling down little elements of billiards into fun new little challenges, and it never gets in the way. It's only like each little chunk of challenges is only 5 tables, and you're kind of in and out super fast. And if you fail or don't sort of hit one of the metrics, you can go back and kind of lather, rinse, repeat pretty quickly. It's really good. And the thing I like about it on mobile is you just pay $5, you get the whole game. No ads, no demo, no BS. You don't have to give it your Facebook login or anything like that. It's just...
I know you love signing in the Facebook.
I am a big fan of that. So yeah, it's really... it was a lot of fun. No, I don't love it nearly as much as Hold Down, but it definitely has a lot of the same DNA, and that is a thing I've gone back to in the 2 days since Saturday and played quite a bit more of as well on my phone. So...
I don't know, like... Every time you mention you're playing a mobile game, you're like, it doesn't make me sign into Facebook. That's great. I can't tell you the last time I played a mobile game that asked me to sign into Facebook.
Is that not a thing anymore?
I don't know. Well, I was trying to figure out why. Like, what games am I not playing? And then I realized, like, oh, maybe it's because Apple has their own thing that you sign into.
Oh.
So that may have just replaced it. Like, maybe it's like an iOS Android thing.
Well, Android has their like games front end as well, where you have like a unified login for every mobile game you play. But
yeah, just sign into that.
Oh, some games will also will like incentivize. Hey, give us, if you log in with Facebook, we'll give you 200 credits or something like that.
Also sign into Facebook. Oh,
yes,
man.
Yeah. They just want to be able to like message you and go, you should play. Come play. Why don't you play? How come you haven't played in a couple of days?
You want to secretly send invites to all your relatives.
Right. Yeah. So I will. I'm happy to say that Subpar Pool doesn't do any of that. And if you're wary of such things, you can also play this on your Switch. I have since learned. So, and that might be
I feel like you want a touchscreen for this.
The Switch has a touchscreen, DJ.
Oh, that's right. I have mine like duct tape into my dock, so I.
Oh, really?
Couldn't do it.
Mine has not been docked in years.
Well,
yeah. So that's a lot of fun. Subpar Pool. Check it out if that's your thing.
Maybe I will. I haven't played a pool game in a long time.
That's what I thought too.
Actually, I just played it a month ago because there was a pool mini game in Shenmue.
Oh,
but yeah. Other than that.
I remember back in the days of the Vita, there's a lot of Vita references on this episode. There was like an asynchronous billiards game where you could like take a shot and then put your Vita to sleep. And then it would send your friend a message that it was their turn and they would take their shot.
On the Vita? That's weird.
On the Vita. And you would bounce back and forth taking turns playing billiards. You never had to be online at the exact same time as your friend. You could play a game that way if you were both online in the same table at the same time. But the asynchronous, like put it to sleep and come back and take your shot later, felt super revolutionary. And I remember playing that quite a bit with a lot of people.
Oh, what was going on with that system? It was just like, they had all these weird ideas that sound cool, but then like, here's how I imagine that going. Like, you have to like boot up the game on the Vita. You take your one pool turn, and then you like have to unload the game and load up whatever else you're going to play while you wait for your friend to take their turn. Because that was before everything had like the quick resume and everything, right?
No, the Vita had the resume. I think PSP had the quick resume. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you could power down or you put it in sleep mode, but don't you want to play other Vita games while you're like waiting for your friend to take their turn?
Probably, yes. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like much more like it would be better for a smartphone or something.
Oh, totally. I mean, this would exactly be a smartphone game.
Yeah, as much as they were trying to make Vita into a mobile device that you took with you.
Right. So this game was called Hustle Kings on the Vita.
Oh, I remember Hustle Kings.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was a part of it.
They made a chess game later that was the exact same conceit.
Hustle Chess. Everybody's favorite. Didn't realize those were the same developer.
Yeah. I didn't
Hustle Kings and Pure Chess.
Just Googled it. But yeah, it was fun. Don't know where I was going with that. That's got to be a thing that exists on cell phones, right? There's got to be like a
asynchronous pool.
Asynchronous pool, yeah.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, that was a big thing for a while. Like the whole
Words with Friends. Yeah, that was the whole.
Yeah, I was gonna say Words with Friends. What's the other one? Draw something.
Really
into.
Pool. There's got to be a pool with friends out there.
Pool with friends. Yeah, pool something.
Pool. Yeah. So that's my list. We also played Content Warning. We were quite bad at it.
Not a great. No. Well, I was gonna say not great footage. We barely even managed to bring any footage back. So
this is true.
Maybe next time. I do really enjoy that game though. It's really good.
Yeah, it's so goofy, but yeah, it does not help if everyone in your party dies and no one ever gets to see the cool, scary footage you filmed.
Yeah, I kind of wish I feel like it should just show you the footage anyway. Like if you don't bring it back, then sure you don't get any points for it, but I still want to see it.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'll write an angry letter to them.
Yeah. You would think there'd be some switch you can flip in there that everything you film just gets saved to your computer's hard drive.
Yeah, maybe it already does. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah. That was it. That was all the stuff I played for the most part.
That was everything. I played a lot of other stuff, but I will save it for a future episode because I don't even think I talked about half the games I got through. Like I said, I kind of lightning rounded the morning, which was a double-edged sword. But but yeah.
You were very prolific.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can wrap this thing up then. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We forgot to tell you at the top of the show that we will be streaming this Monday night, despite my sort of ranting and raving about not liking streaming. We're going to stream some more. In fact, I'm going to stream.
Making Monday, him stream again.
Yep. Monday, November 11th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to do Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Go to twitch.tv/VGHangover Monday, 11/11, 10 p.m. And we'll play kind of a spooky game where you solve puzzles and explore a haunted hotel. I guess it's spooky.
It's a little spooky.
Yeah. We teased this game in the past and through circumstance did not quite get to it. So excited to dive in and happy to have DJ's help solving some presumably very tough puzzles.
Yeah. Oh man, we didn't talk about the Pumpkin Festival game. That was actually really good.
Oh, that was really good. That was a good time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can save that for next year because it's going to get turned off.
We will talk about it next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about it next episode if you want. People won't be able to play it because the game will go offline for a year.
True. It just seemed very spiteful. Talk about it.
You could join us on Discord. We would be happy to talk to you about the Pumpkin Festival game on Discord. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And maybe subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube Music. Maybe hook us up with a referral to your friends as well. Tell them about how amazing the Video Game Hangover podcast is.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Helps us get word out about the show, bring in those new listeners.
Yeah.
It's easy to do, hopefully.
And free.
And free, yeah.
It's one of the few things that still is.
It's one of the few free things that exist. Speaking of free things, we're going to give thanks again to RJ Lake for our intro and outro music. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com. You can actually listen to that all completely for free, if I'm understanding that correctly. But what would be really great is if you send him a few dollars to purchase some of those albums. You can do that there as well.
Awesome. We'll be back Monday night with Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and then a new episode in your feed in just 2 weeks.
Did we mention that Extra Life donations are still open through the end of the year?
True. That's right. Yeah. Man, let's do this whole thing over. Yes. If you didn't get a chance to donate, didn't know we were doing the thing, or just didn't get paid until now, you can still donate at vghangover.com/extralife. All the money goes to the charity. That link will work until December 31st. So you've got plenty of time. No rush.
Yeah. No obligation, but in case it slipped your mind.
Yeah. All of that said, see you soon. This is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Bye.
Night.
See ya.